was a dream. I feel so rare, so real. It's the world in union, the world as one, as we cry to reach out.
Well, welcome to a rather spectacular Newlands for this opening match of Rugby World Cup 95 as we wait. South Africa first blood with the winning of the toss, and Francois Pienaar has chosen for his team to play into a rather stiff southeasterly wind. It's going to be tricky for the players, one imagines, but certainly everything is hype here at Newlands, inside and outside the stadium today. It's been quite spectacular, Chick Henderson.
Yeah, it's something I've never seen, quite the atmosphere we had today. All around the streets coming down, there was tremendous hype. A lot of people with the South African flag painted on their faces, and everyone an expert and very keen to give their opinion.
Well, that was Derek Bevan in view there. He's the referee for today's encounter. He refereed the final in 1991, and he has the pleasure of this particular game as well. He's 27th international, very experienced man, and into his third Rugby World Cup. That's, of course, all of them. He's from Wales, and the South Africans will be hoping that he gives them the right latitude in the lineouts, because that's a very worrying factor for many South Africans. Captain Michael Lynagh with a kick-off, and just listen to the roar. That's the start. Andrews was the target. He's got it. Van der Westhuizen's got Stransky in close enough. It was well played by Stransky. He kept himself tight, but his kick's wide. That's Penny's also the big hoist. We'll see a lot of this aerial bombardment early in the match, one feels sure. Good catch there by the fullback and Andre Joubert. So important for both Van der Westhuizen and Stransky to get the Australians back into their half of the field. Also have the win to contend with.
Well, that was a use it or lose it law. South Africa with it. They didn't get it back from the ruck situation, from the maul rather, and so Australia put in.
Zambian-born George Gregan at scrum half for Australia surely will be a target for the South Africans if they can disrupt the movement of the ball down the dangerous Australian backline. It'll certainly be a percentage of the battle won. Little chat to Tim Gavin did at number 8. He's the man with a pickup. It was good work by Van der Westhuizen to stop that initial drive. The Australians are very powerful with those drives. Herbert coming through, but South Africa have been penalised, and this is kickable.
Yes, the referee picked them up for being offside, and it was quite interesting the way the Australians on that occasion, they had them all and they used it. They had it available at all times. The referee could see where it was, and back it came. But there were a couple of South Africans in ahead of the last line of feet. Remember, that is the line, the law in offside. Everyone, even the scrum half from a loose ball, must be behind that last line of feet, and this will be Lynag's first effort. He's got 148 points in World Cup rugby so far, and will this be his 150?
I'll check. More importantly, perhaps for him, he's got 821 in the career, and a fantastic career for Michael Lynagh. He's the top point scorer in rugby history. Overtook Grant Fox, and a very accurate kicker. Interestingly enough, recently against Argentina in Australia, he was a little off form with his kicking, but he's been down here at Newlands on the only occasion that was offered to them and felt comfortable with his kick. He struck that well, has Lynagh. First blood to Australia.
Only 2.5 minutes gone, and Australia with that 3-0 lead. And I think it must have been a difficult decision, Gavin, as to whether to play with the wind or against the wind, because as you said earlier on, down here it can change in the second half.
That's Stransky with a start. Australia picked up there from Durant in the drive through. South Africa will want to try and control these rucks and mauls. That's an untidy one. Stransky's hoist. So watch how the wind has held that back a little bit. Penny comes in with a big jump. Australians all over the place. Crowley can't rescue it. Well, the penalty has gone to South Africa. The Aussies were playing the ball on the wrong side of that ruck situation.
And a penalty in a rather similar position It's on the right-hand side of the field where Stransky will prefer, and about 15 meters in from the far touchline. Here it is again. Up goes Penny for it, and the referee waits for the knock-on, waiting for advantage. And there is the Australian, number 4, playing it from an offside position, coming in from the side of the ruck, which is unallowed. You've got to come in right behind the last line of feet. And there's Joel Stransky in front of his big home crowd, and absolute capacity crowd, tremendous tension. They'll be quiet as he prepares to kick.
71 points in 7 tests for Joel Stransky. This will be a great test for him. Interestingly enough, I can't recall him having played a bad test for South Africa. He's a man for the big occasion. This will do him so much good if this goes over. He's been a very nervous man in the last few days. Well, he turned it in enough. That's good enough.
Well, as you say, that'll put him right for the game. You were a kicker yourself, Gavin. I know if you put it over early on, you really felt great for the rest of the match. And throughout the whole of South Africa, they'll be rejoicing as the scores are now level.
Andrew's always the target man for South Africa. He's big and strong. Good work there by Rudolph Strowley. Dalton going in. They need to get those balls going towards the Australian line if they can, just to create the initial impetus. Joubert, good thinking by South Africa, using Joubert's left foot on that far side, but unfortunately not a great kick from the fullback. Talking to people, Chick, about Andre Joubert, who was rated the best fullback in the world last year, and he's one of those magicians who could just turn this game for South Africa.
Well, he's a very enterprising chap, and I think beforehand Russell Fairfax said that the more adventurous side is the one that could win here today.
This is the important area for both sides. The line-outs, Kearns very experienced. He's got John Eales at the back of the line-out. Big, tall, 2 meters. John Eales, that's the reason why he's there, to bring that control for them. Liner with a hoist. Jason Little, in he goes. Isn't that an ominous sign? But well done by James Small. Pressure on South Africa there. Joubert's kick down the middle of the field. Was that wise? Liner, will he drop? The drop attempt from Liner, that's not going to go over.
Yes, well done by James Small. Of course, James Small played a lot of his rugby at fullback. He played for South Africa under 19 team at fullback, and he's a good chap at falling back and becoming a second fullback when the actual fullback's in a bit of trouble.
Stransky with a restart. That's a nice deep one to Campese. The Pied Piper of Australia. Really great player, Campese. And Joubert, third time lucky with a better kick. That one's twirling out. That's a great kick from Joubert.
And that'll put Andre Joubert back in form. Campese, of course, is the chap who started his rugby career at international level as a fullback. Another very versatile chap. He won't play in any other number than number 11, so although he's on the right wing, he always has number 11 on his back.
Lots of talking for the Australian line-out. At the back, David Wilson. Rod McCall in the front. John Eales in the middle against Hannes Strydom. Great percentage catcher is John Eales and Rod McCall, in fact. South Africa doing well to hold them back. Reagan. Liner. Just the kick, and then he stands back, does Michael Liner, because perhaps that kick's going to come back. Joubert will need to try and tidy up. South Africa wants support in close, but well, Chip, there was some concern here from many of the South Africans that the Aussies went to ground there.
Yes, well, Andre Joubert had time to run, and so Australian put in, but very good following up by Daniel Herbert there.
Australia marginally heavier than South Africa in the scrums, but Australia don't place great importance on the scrums. This is Offa Ngawi. Wilson ever present there to him. There was a great tackle that by Ruben Kruger. That's the impetus that needs to be stopped. Nick Farr-Jones has spoken about time and space as being so important in games like this. Well, South Africa will want to create that space.
Interesting decision that the referee ruled that the maul was in fact a maul, and when it went aground it was the Aussies that should have used the ball, and so South African put in. And they're only about 15 meters from their own try line, so they'll want a big right shoulder and a huge effort.
Well, Bali Swat's the man at tight head, a vital role for him today. Joubert's kick, that's a very tight angle that through 400 Joubert, and he threaded it through the needle. Both teams are not allowed to lift in the line out. Support can only come once that man or any of the others catch the ball. That's Johnny Eales. Speedster David Wilson at the back against Ruben Kruger. It's a tap from Gregan all the way through. Just watch how close the Aussies stand to each other. That time not getting the ball swift of hand, but not quite getting it in the right direction. Well, it was good defensive pressure by South Africa, and a lot of eyes will be on Japie Mulder and Henny Leroux to get their defense organized today, Chick.
Yes, with the referee watching very carefully for offside, and he indicates to the chaps to stay behind that line.
South Africa will want to lay the platform and then possibly get into an expansive game. Will that opportunity come? This is a good scrum. Strowley holding it in. Joubert with the kick through, and then Matt Penny. It was a good effort by Matt Penny, but he's kept it in field. Joubert's kick. Stransky gets in there early, but that's Willie Offa-Ngowi. Well, the game goes on. People thought it had gone out, and this is Liner. A good kick from Michael Liner. Also very tight against the touchline.
Yeah, that's the experience of the man, Michael Liner. That is the time when one must find touch. In his own 22, he's settled the whole game down, and he's put his team right back on attack in the Springbok half of the field. All around the country, people are watching on the big screen. My old club Wanderers up there, they've been going to be able to watch every single game of the World Cup on the big screen. There'll be tremendous tension up there, and it's a tense feeling here. 3-3, and both sides trying to size each other up.
Dalton, can he get the throw in accurate and straight? Well, that was not in straight. Referee waiting for advantage. Australia just intent on merely getting their ball from the scrums, not wasting too much energy. Well, they're using a little bit of it right now, trying to get that drive going. Well, they've gone through the 90 degrees, Chick, and sometimes you've got to question whether you need an earlier release than that when you see the ball's going to be probably not a good quality ball.
I was just about to say very good control, but they held it just too long and through the 90 degrees. But it's their ball again, and perhaps it'll be a different tactic this time.
There's terrific skill and strength and pace in this Australian backline, and great temptation to use them. Well, they'll come back again. That scrum collapsed, I think, Chick, and it was a good ball for Gregan and Liner.
It's a tremendous battle going on the front row there with Durant, Dalton and Swart against Crowley, Kearns and McKenzie. More experience in the Australian front row, but a lot of strength in the South African one, so it will be a battle right to the end.
Yes, Bali Swart on the near side against the policeman Dan Crowley. Willie Offa-Ngowi comes off. He's big man. There's a good tackle though. Around the ankles. South Africa will have to bring them down. Tim Gavin going through. Well, South Africans playing the ball on the ground. Well, Francois Pienaar was very concerned about this during the week. He mentioned the importance of South Africa not giving away penalties within kicking range.
So that was very naive. That was a very blatant thing to do in front of the referee. And see if you can pick it up here. There the ball is on the ground, and you've got to be on your feet and not in front of the ball.
Well, Ruben Kruger was the man there penalised. He knows he's made a mistake.
Willie Offahangar, the man who did the driving there. Interesting, his profession is that of pile driver, and it certainly suits him. He really looked like a pile driver then. And Liner won't have many easier kicks than this one in international level rugby.
Well, they all require lots of concentration. Captaincy on those broad shoulders, the kicking ability in those big thighs, but this one has gone past the right hand upright.
Well, it's rather like missing a short putt, Gavin. I mean, if he had 100 of those kicks, he'd probably get 99 over. But I guess it's the tension, this big crowd, and the importance of the occasion. To get ahead there would have been a tremendous psychological advantage.
Well, I'd almost put his name down on my scorecard. That's a good drive through by South Africa. They're stopping all these Australian onslaughts from the rucks and mauls, and they've done extremely well thus far in the game. Well, that's the result of pressure, Chick. I think, you know, Australia's ball, South Africa driving in and just creating the additional pressure for them, and we have the delivery.
And so important to get that put in. These days, with the laws that they are, you very seldom see a tight head, and indeed there isn't one here.
Van der West stays, and that's a massive punt. It hasn't gone far enough, though. Mulder trying to pick up. There was a knock-on from South Africa. Referee waits for the advantage. Liner, little punt down towards Joubert's positional play has been good. He's kicking not that great thus far in the game. Small. Don't do anything foolish, James. He puts it down. Well, there's great temptation, and when your nerves are like they are, Chick, sometimes you just might do something silly, but all under control.
I think he had the whole of the people on the edge of their seats there in case he'd thought of doing something silly.
Well, that's dropout number 3 for Joel Stransky, so lots of pressure from Australia too, but that was a tackle in the air, and Australia will get the penalty. Once again, indiscipline from South Africa.
Now there it is, the man is in the air, and the law says specifically you cannot tackle him when he's in the air. And a feature of the Australians against Argentina the other day was that in the whole of the match they conceded only 3 penalties. Well, South Africa have conceded 3 already, and we're only into the 16th minute of play.
There'll be no concern with the distance for Michael Liner. Those statistics were relatively easy to work out. This is Liner again as he struck this one better. Yes, that's there. It's a very good kick that from Michael Liner. Enormous pressure on the 2 fly halves today. Well, 6 points to 3, Australia lead then. Just the 3 penalties of the match. And is this going to be a kicking contest? The crowd hope not. Stransky once again a pinpoint kick. He's been practicing his kicking as Joel Stransky, not just at goal but all over the place. That's Dalton with a take in. That's a better punt from Stransky. That's gone into the 22. Penny's jump was a little early. Is this a chance for South Africa? Kruger's the man going through. Back again. Can South Africa spread it enough? Joubert. James Small keep it in field. Hendricks has come across from the left wing. Dalton is swamped by yellow jerseys, gold jerseys more particularly. Well, that was disappointing, I think, a little bit for South Africa, but they were caught unawares.
The ball came back, a beautiful second phase ball, and there was no scrum half there to take it at the time. By the time Joos van der Westhuizen got there, it was him, he was scragged, and so the referee has given a line out. Yeah.
Well, interesting decision in Mark Andrews and Rudolph Strowley in the line out. Big lock. Hannes Strydom is not there. Andrews can't take. This is Phil Kearns. Back to Offa and Ngawi. They'll batter their way downfield, will the Australians, but South Africa come away with it. Campisi close in on Peter Hendricks. Well, there was an early knock on there, and the ball has gone South Africa's way.
Well,
Interestingly enough, that Australia have a great defensive pattern, of course, and it's very difficult to bridge that advantage line with them, but South Africa are certainly doing their best.
Well, they cross-tackled. There was a good turnover by South Africa, getting the ball when Australia had possession. But, of course, they gave it away. And that's interesting. You don't very often see a free kick for putting it in crooked.
Yeah, you don't, and this is Van der Westhuizen. Good work by Ngawi, but it hasn't really helped now. Mulder goes back in field. That is a thumping tackle, but it's high. And that'll be a penalty to South Africa. Can they make something of this? The referee waits for the advantage. Well, back they'll come.
Yes, there's no doubt of that at all. And that was good refereeing, because Derek Bevan is a man who does believe in the advantage law. He put his hand up for the high tackle, and there was a very obvious one. There you go, in it. That's a neck high tackle, a very dangerous one. So not only high, but dangerous as well. And then the referee waited to see if any advantage would emanate after that, and then decided that it wouldn't, and the penalty's been given. Now, it's interesting, this one. This is about as easy as the one that Michael Lynagh missed a moment ago, so Stransky will have to concentrate. 3 points is 3 points.
Can he keep that big match temperament in enough reserve for today's game? He's used a teeny-weeny bit of that. Some more of it to come. This to draw level at 6-all. You'll hear it from the crowd.
And 20 minutes gone exactly. So it couldn't be a more even game.
Chuck, so many people know just how important this match is to both sides with the way things have drawn. Yarin Pillay, the team finishing on top here, might have an easier passage to the final, but we'll debate that later in the tournament.
That is true, but remember the last time at the World Cup, England were beaten in the first match and went on to get to the final.
Well, that all remains to be seen. Pinpoint kicking from both fly halves at the kick-in. That's Van der Westhuizen's kick over the top. Matt Penny. James Small will want to get it to Stransky, to Joubert. Give him the right angle. That was well played by the South Africans. And that's a massive punt from Joubert.
Yeah, good thinking by the two back there. They've played a lot together, and Joubert, of course, a natural left footer. And as you say, that was a massive punt, and psychologically as a forward, it's marvellous when you can run forward a lot to the line out.
Well, a big throw in there, but taken from the tap by Rudolf Strauly. Van der Westhuizen's little chip over, that's going to be a good kick from him. No time and space for Penny.
And this is the best position South Africa have been in this match. The first time they've got to within 15 metres of their opponent's line. And let's see what they can do with it.
Well, South Africa will have to be careful. Yeah, there's a tactical discussion, but the ball needs to be thrown in at the line out by James Dalton. Will it be Strydom in the middle? Meant for Mark Andrews, but taken by John Eales. Lynagh, the saviour.
I think, and that shows the difference in the experience of these two sides. That was a South African throw-in. It was badly thrown in, and Australia got the ball. And it's so noticeable that when Australia throwed in, Phil Kern seems to put it exactly, pinpointed exactly where he wants it, and the man who's going to receive it knows it's coming, and they don't lose many of their own throw-ins.
Well, they haven't got 429 caps between them for nothing, the Australians. Lots of experience. They're very streetwise as well. Mark Andrews just trying to do some tackling. That's a good kick from Lynagh. Joubert, this is the position he likes. That's a good kick by Joubert. He's found some space there. Back for it is Lynagh. Now Lynagh will have to play this ball. That is magnificent play by Michael Lynagh, Chick.
That was fantastic because it came off the cushion around the bottom of the post, and he watched it so carefully into his hands, and there was all the coolness and the calmness of the tremendous number of experiences he's had playing at the top level. Very cool, excellent, and look how he's put his side back into the opponent's territory.
Well, Dalton hasn't had a great effort in throwing the ball in thus far in the game. South Africa just coming across that line, getting themselves into the right position. The line-out counts need to be improved. Up front is it Andrews. He's a real target for the Australians, one feels. Jason Little giving a little bit of room by South Africa to move in. This is where they're dangerous, getting over that advantage line. Campese.
Once again, South Africa with the throw-in, losing it, knocking it on, and the referee, again, a good bit of refereeing. He waited for advantage, and Australia took it.
Australia have certainly done a lot better in the lineouts. They've been a bit better organised, but the pinpoint accuracy, as Chick was speaking of, that came from Phil Kearns is not coming South Africa's way. South Africa will have to clean up the space around the jumper as best as they can. Once again Andrews, but he's not able to take. Ball knocked forward by South Africa. Pienaar's had a few words with referee Bevan.
Yeah, it did look as though Andrews was taken out there.
That's a good run around by Michael Lynagh, and then Daniel Herbert is swamped. Gregan with a knock-on. Has the referee seen it? Well, he's blown for the earlier knock-on, and Gregan is the man that South Africa need to put pressure on. He's relatively inexperienced, got enormous talent, but he's close to the engine room, and we need to close him down there, do South Africa.
Very good at clearing the ball very quickly. A little hold up, and off they go again. That's a good tackle. As Herbert went, he'll know he would be tackled there.
Van der Westhuizen looking to show his paces. Lovely pass from Van der Westhuizen. He really does have a bullet-like pass. An anticipation from Campese. Deep kick there from Matt Pinney, and then Andre Joubert's kick. That's a good one from Joubert.
Yeah, he'll be very pleased with that. He judged it perfectly. I think the roll of the ball was a little bit lucky. Bounded on the pitch and out it went. But he's put his side in a wonderful position.
Like any good golfer, you make your luck. And Andre Joubert is turning over those early errors of his into something more spectacular. Kearns looking in the middle for Eales. The tap went, South Africa swarmed through. That's the dangers of tapping, of course, and South Africa have not done well in that score. Stransky on the inside to LaRue. Ruben Kruger not able to control. That was a pity as he went in. He just kicked it forward. Well, it's good play by South Africa to get that out again. Joubert. Gold and green jerseys all over the place. Well, now there's more green and gold as well. Dalton. Can South Africa make something of this? Australian defence rock solid. Strowley. Great tackle there by Michael Lynagh. This is Van der Westhuizen going through, but the referee has in fact given a penalty, and the referee's whistle presumably had blown before Van der Westhuizen charged through for what would have been the softest try in Test rugby.
I think the referee is saying sorry there. Sorry, fellas, I didn't wait for advantage. I'll see if you see the ball coming out. There it is. And his arm had just gone up. But that was one, Mr. Bevan. You might have waited, sir. You might have waited a fraction of a second. And it would have been 7 points to South Africa instead of a possible 3. And the players won't be very happy about that. But these things happen, and it's not easy to be a referee because so often you're unsighted. And of all referees, Mr. Bevan certainly is one of the best, if not the best, in the world.
It's virtually a little chip over this one for Joel Stransky. Did the same with the last one, just tapped it like that, and that was good enough.
And still no tries in the match. 3 penalties to 2.
In this type of match, it's often that there aren't any tries. Quick start by Australia. Joubert was in a good position for that. That's his reply to Liner. A lot of testing kicks from both sides. It's a good kick from Liner. Michael Liner really has played rather well today. He's been in the right position all the time. Great positional player, and then really a good player under pressure.
Yes, he hasn't put a foot wrong.
That was the little chip kick from Liner. He's the one that caught it, but not enough time to flip it inside. James Dalton, can he find his man? Stratham not able to, and then the taps come from Australia. Well, one wonders just how difficult the wind is out there for the players, Chick. A couple of balls from South Africa have not gone in straight into the line out. If we look up at the flags, there's a little bit of a southeaster blowing. Van der Westhuizen, and that's a bit of a looper to Stransky, who gets out of it rather well.
Yes, the wind, the locals here were saying that it could strengthen the southeaster. And what would that mean, Gavin? You know this field better than I do.
Well, it's possible that it could turn round, Chick, in the second half, but I'm sure that Francois Pienaar consulted the powers that be as far as weather's concerned, and he'll be hoping that it doesn't. Picked from second division, from relative obscurity. Phil Kearns, and then off Ngawi. You've got to get him around the ankles. It's the only place. That's great running by the Australian forwards. Is this a chance for them? Jason Little on the inside. He's big and strong. South Africa will have to be careful. We'll be getting offsides. Liner on the inside of Campese. Rock solid defense from South Africa, but can they keep holding? This is Liner. He's swamped by Francois Pienaar. Gregan for the 4th time. Is there now a chance? Campese, Herbert. Yeah, there's a chance. South Africa. Another great tackle from Peter Hendricks. You can only make so many tackles, in the words of Kitch Christie, the coach. Well, they're making plenty now. South Africa's Campese down the middle. Gregan again, he can't get it out. Now it comes out. Is this a chance for Michael Liner? It is! A great score for Michael Liner.
Well, that was just continuous pressure, with Australia winning one ruck ball after the other. And if you go on doing that at some stage, the defence has got a crack. A lovely pass by Gregan. There's a little dummy, and he sees the gap. The South Africans are more worried about the players on his outside. And from the other angle, there's that lovely pass, and the little dummy, the Jink, and Bolly Swat trying to tackle him, and a lovely try by Michael Liner.
Liner just on the deck there, just getting his breath back. He's done a lot of work in the last 10 minutes of the match. Really has been running around. He's been close to the ball, and it was clever play by Liner there in selling the dummy, because the defense was rather tight on the 2 men on his outside, and saw the opportunity.
Well, I think he'll feel it's worth getting winded, and the right thing to do to take his time, because he wanted to recover sufficiently to be able to concentrate on this conversion kick. That is almost exactly the same position from where he kicked the first penalty of the match, and it'll be the side that he prefers, being a right-footed kicker.
Of course, there are dangers in just leaving too much for the wind and kicking too far to the right-hand side of the upright in the hope that the wind will curl it round. And that's possibly what went wrong with kick number 2 for Liner. He's got his sights perhaps a little bit better set now. Will that swing round too much? Yes, it's in. All the points in the match to Michael Liner. And of course, that's what happens when you get a try. The scoreline really jumps. 13 points to 9. Australia lead.
Yes, 7 points at one shot is tremendous, Philip.
Stransky's kick a little bit short, but they do well to come away with this with Henny LaRue. South Africa will want to try and get a reply before half-time. Work by Mark Andrews, Peter Durant. Van der Westhuizen's kick, can he catch it? He has! Van der Westhuizen, that's a great effort in LaRue. South Africa need a concerted effort from all 8 forwards right now. Van der Westhuizen, is this a try? But great tackling by Australia right on their goal line. Will there be another chance? No. That's Campese. Well, you can take nothing away from that sort of defensive work, Chick. That was absolutely outstanding from Australia's point of view.
Yes, the most outstanding part of it was that it was an overturn. South Africa had the ball, and in contrast to when Australia scored, they got 3 or 4 ruck balls, one after the other. Here it is with Van der Westhuizen chasing up. He takes it brilliantly, and a tremendous trunching tackle. And they got the first ruck ball, but they didn't get the second. And back it went to Campese, and he saved the situation.
Plenty of delays with the throw-in at the line-out with Dalton. Possibly there's too much noise in the stadium. Get the line-out signals going. It's from Strowley at the back. Can Mulder make something of this? Back inside he goes. A big, strong man, Japie Mulder. Van der Westhuizen, Stransky. This is a drop attempt from Joel Stransky. It's gone a long way from the post, but nevertheless, South Africa keeping Australia in their half of the field.
Yeah, it's all about possession, Gavin, isn't it? There's the territorial situation. Australia certainly by far the better territorially, but possession fairly even in this half.
Well, that's what. Look at that excellent kick that from Michael Lynagh. He just chose the space that was available to him, and there wasn't that much. Kept it low, and he's got his side into South Africa's half. Territorially, it belongs to Australia, and they have the wind at their back, so one would have expected that. Possession has been pretty even. Australia really a long way ahead on the line-out count. That's their own throw-in, and it shows the accuracy of Phil Kearns and the assistance of the rest of the pack of forwards. Will that go to Rudolf Strowley at the back? No, that's Hannes Strydom with the first clean catch of the match for South Africa. Stransky once again with a hoist. So watch how the wind has affected that kick. It came back towards South Africa's side. Poor Matt Pinney. It's not an easy job with this wind. Campese. Can Joubert counter-attack? Will he look to try with a switch with James Small? That's good play by James Small. This is Dalton. He's got Wally Swart on the outside. Chose to go infield. Probably the right option. Can South Africa spread it quickly enough? James Small, Peter Hendricks, Peter Hendricks, Peter Hendricks! That's a try! What a great try from Peter Hendricks. And that's exactly what South Africa wanted just before halftime.
Well, he's certainly pleased, but Gavin, I don't know if you noticed, he went right through Campese. Campese had him covered, and I thought if he should go for the inside shoulder, Hendricks would have been tackled. Let's see it again. The first thing was very good possession, second phase, and the first skip pass, a forward of the way, another long skip pass, and a good pass out to Hendricks. And there's Campese, he had him. He just went right through him, not round him. He went through the defence of Campo, and that doesn't very often happen to a man who has the reputation of being the greatest wing in the world, certainly the greatest attacking wing in the world. There's always been some people who've said there's a little question on the defence, and that was a case of Hendricks being very big and strong. He is about 96 kilos, a huge chap for a wing, well over 6 foot, and he was an athlete, he was a hurdler, and that certainly will be a try that will make him delighted, and certainly this capacity crowd absolutely tickle pink.
A good record from Stransky, but that one will push past the upright. No matter, South Africa are back in the game now, 14 points to 13. And this was Peter Hendricks' effort as he brushed aside attempted tackle from Campisi. A little fist raised in triumph. What a wonderful opportunity for a man who probably wouldn't have played in the World Cup if, or wouldn't have played if Chester Williams had been ready. Liner, lots of height. McCall, Eales to lend support. Dalton has it. Once again using Joubert on the far side. It's not a good kick from Joubert. Campisi knocks on. Oh, 2 mistakes from the mercurial wing in 2 minutes, but don't write him off.
Yeah, well, I remember one time last Borka commenting on Campisi. He says he'll mess about, do nothing, and make a few mistakes for 3/4 of the match, and then end up scoring 2 brilliant, unbelievable tries to win the match for his side. So you say, don't ever write him off. The brilliance will always be there, and it wasn't an easy one to take. It's one he normally would have taken.
Both sides want to cut down the mistakes that they make. That's Joubert's little grubber kick through. Matt Pinney did well there. Got up early so he could get close into his forwards. David Wilson, normally always the first man there. Liner. Stransky. Can he get his pass in? It was too hard to Van der Westhuizen. A great pity. There weren't too many. It wasn't an easy thing to get that ball in because Jason Little had swarmed his arms around Joel Stransky, but good counter-attacking by the fly half.
But if he could have picked it up, look at all those Springboks there in numbers, but Joos van der Westhuizen, as you say, not an easy one to take. But the game has suddenly come to life.
Tim Gavin controls at the back. Liner, as he's done most of the first half, the big hoist back onto Joubert. Good interplay with James Small. That's so important to South Africa's cause that they're well organised at the back.
Well, in the days of running fullbacks, the wing 3/4, there's James in picture, have to fall back into a position where they can be of assistance.
Well, that's the half-time whistle then, and South Africa leading Australia, and they'll feel very comfortable with the fact that they're ahead by 14 points to 13, and we look forward to a great second half. Welcome back to from the commentary position, and that was the restart from Joel Stransky and the hoist from him. That's probably his best of the game. Can they get in early? Great take from Matt Pinney.
No, the fantastic mark under pressure, as you said, the best up and under we had so far, and he got his heel in the ground and down he went and calling mark. That's exactly copybook stuff from a fullback.
Well, he hasn't put too many feet wrong today, has Matt Pinney, and that'll be no matter to the rest of him. He's done the basics well. He's got that ball out.
And the way it went down so that any tacklers would go right over the top of him. Remember, they go on playing until the whistle blows. So that'll be a great start for Matt Pinney. Put him right for the rest of the game. But South Africa on the attack and see if they can improve on the throwing in and getting the ball in the line out.
South Africa will have to improve their ratio and winning the balls on their own throws in the line out, and it's nowhere near what it should be. Little chip kick through that, well taken by Joubert. Just punching it down the field. That's right over the goal line. Well, perhaps not too many options there for Joubert. South Africa, critical for them for the next 15 minutes to stay in the Australian half of the field and convert into points what they can.
And of course they've got the wind with them now. I think perhaps Andre Joubert didn't mean to kick it quite as far as that, but the wind is behind the South Africans' backs and they'll want to stay in their opponent's half.
Liners kick, that's Eales with a knockdown. Well, there was good pressure from South Africa with the Australians playing the ball on the ground. The pressures came from Rudolf Strali. He was one of the men right in the middle.
And Rudolf Streuli, of course, will be loving the conditions here. He's a very good player on heavy grounds, and I was on the field this morning. The ground is fairly heavy by South African standards. Here it is. See if you can see the man playing the ball on the ground. The other side, the referee with his hand up for the infringement, playing the ball on the ground. And I was saying about this ground, it is very long, the grass, and Streuli is a particularly good player under those circumstances, and he it was who forced the error. And now a difficult one for Stransky, because the wind is a little bit stronger than it was, and Gavin, the wind here is rather tricky at Newlands, especially from that end.
Well, it hasn't been that tricky for Joel Stransky today. He's had a good success rate. That was Barley Swart down on the ground, and we just saw Gary Pagel getting himself ready on the side. Potential first cap, and what a great opportunity that would have been for him. But Barley Swart back on his feet, and important to South Africa's cause. They don't want to lose players in this match. They've been working really hard in the last couple of weeks and getting the combinations going. And this is one of them that's worked for Westhuizen and Stransky. 1 point the difference. South Africa 14, Australia 13. Lots of concentration. You'll hear it from the crowd.
So South Africa 4 penalties and a try to Australia's 1 goal and 2 penalties. And psychologically great stuff to go ahead early in the second half.
Well, don't write the Australians off, Chick. They're a very well experienced side, and important for them to get their momentum going again. But that was once again a tackle in midair. It was Mark Andrews going up for it. They say the bigger you are, the harder they fall. Well, I've seen that man take a lot of punishment. Up he goes.
Yes, the referee judged that dangerous, and indeed it was. Gavin, I don't write the Australians off in any way. You're never safe with men like Campese, who can play badly for, as I say, 80 minutes, 60 minutes, and be brilliant, score a few tries in the last 20. But it certainly is a game of rugby that it's galvanized into life.
Good work at the back of the line out for South Africa. Just a shortage of control. There just doesn't seem to be enough protection around the jumpers in the South African line out. Dragan, pleased with his first half performance, the first in South Africa for him. Offer Ngawi. That's wonderful ball to get Crowley taking it in. This is the Australian rugby that we know, but there was a knock on there from Phil Kearns.
Australian rugby, as you say, when you force one ruck off the other, keep getting possession. They were across the advantage line. If they could have got it a third time, it would have been very dangerous indeed. And South Africa getting advantage of the put in from the Australian mistake.
Well, one of the great skills of Australian rugby is denying the opposition the ball. South Africa will be pleased that a fair amount of it's come their way, and a lot of it has been quality ball too. Campese back for the Joubert kick. Just a little breather for the Mercurial Pied Piper, as we call him.
Yes, he's one of the game's real characters.
Big change in possession statistics, but the second half is early. There's only 5 minutes of it gone by. This is Joubert again. Once again, a little bit of cat and mouse. Well, you know, a lot of people saying, what is Andre Joubert up to? I can tell you what he's up to. He's making sure that his team is down in the Australian half and that they stay there.
And of course, Australia having to do the kick in, they'll hope to, South Africa will hope they'll get possession.
Well, that depends on a number of factors with some big men. That's Eales, but that ball didn't cross the 22. Now South Africa have a very useful option here. Attack either side. Now, with a number of moves having been practiced, Chick, it'll be interesting to see what options are taken. Possibly Joubert will be one of the men for the thrust.
Well, Joubert's up in an attacking position from where he can run. and James Small on the right will then have to cover back into the full-back position.
Well, going forward is what is all in the South Africans' minds right now. Van der Westhuizen, will he do a little bit of running himself? He's very mercurial, and that's Jabir Hendricks. Did well to stay on his feet. A good tackle from Tim Gavin. Short side, South Africa decide to go. Was it the right option? Long pass, Jabir. This is Mulder. Durant is in close quickly. South Africa will want to thrust and try and keep those rucks and walls moving forward. Stransky with a drop. Is that over? Yes, it is. Stransky kick number 5. 4 penalties and a drop. And one of the important things there, Chick, is that South Africa can get that lead stretched. It's now 7 points the difference.
And watch this coming out to Stransky. He's perfectly balanced. And what a lovely kick. I remember watching him doing that when he was a schoolboy at Maritzburg College, one of the great schoolboy fly halves, and he was certainly cool, calm and collected there.
Well taken by Mark Andrews. Andrews has been such a pillar of strength for South Africa from kick-ins in internationals. Henny LaRue's kick. Well, they're all going in confidence now. The important thing is the concentration levels. They need to keep them up.
And that was a good little move there with Stransky standing wide, and the loose forwards went for Stransky, and Henny LaRue, of course, is a fly half, has been for a lot of his life, and he took the pressure off his fly half on that occasion. So it looks as though the Springboks are gaining in confidence all the time, and as you say, that 7-point lead, they'll want to stretch it a little more. Already Australia will have to score twice if they're going to get ahead.
This could be the longest half an hour of their lives for many South Africans. McCall. Little looking for space. He seems to find it so easily, does Jason Little. Well, the penalty has gone Australia's way, Chick. I didn't pick that up at the back. Seemingly a late tackle.
Could be. I was watching the ball as well. But Campo it is who takes it. And he always seems to settle the guys down with his experience, and he likes to take those penalties. There it is. Yes, that's a late tackle after the player got rid of the ball, and that was what the penalty was for.
Australia choose to bring Offa Ngawi back into the back line. Pienaar, his counter comes out too. That's Bali Swart. Tim Gavin's tap, not good for George Gregan. Great recovery by Australia. Damien Smith takes in. David Wilson finds himself in the background now. Herbert. It was not good play by Australia. They were unable to take that pass. Once again, we question whether the wind is a factor for those players down there.
Referee waiting for advantage again. I must say I do like Mr. Bevan's advantage. He always waits, and then when it doesn't happen, he brings them back for the scrum. So South Africa still in their opponent's half. They will want to use the wind and stay there.
South Africa have stood well in the scrums. That's Jabir's grubber. That could be an excellent kick. Or just missing the corner flag. Well, yeah. Chick, there's really an unbelievable roar here at Newlands, and I don't think I've witnessed a spectacle in South Africa like this before. And South Africa really have come up trumps with just those 30 minutes left in the match. In fact, possibly not to say just those 30, because that could be a long 30. Eels, he couldn't control. The referee will come back if there's no advantage. This is Joost van der Westhuizen. That's good enough advantage.
The right thing for Joost van der Westhuizen to do. He got a bad ball, and you don't want to try and swing a bad ball and risk an interception. And the main thing is to keep his forwards on the attack. Nothing that keeps the hearts of forwards up like that as when they're going forward all the time. Here it is again. There's a good little grubber kick through.
Kearns finding McCall. Gregan is swamped. Ominous position this for Australia.
Must be a 5-meter scrum. carried
So
over.
that will be attacker's ball, Chicken. We'll see possibly if South Africa will interplay here with Rudolf Australia at the back in front of Westhuizen, and if they have an option, they'll want a strong, steady scrum though.
And this is the first interruption we've had through injury, the first time that the referee will have to add onto his watch. The other one was very short, and the first half was only 40 minutes and 20 seconds. And of course, this is not a bad thing for the Australians, who are under tremendous stress at the moment. It'll bring them some much needed respite to a very harassed team, and they can gather themselves, have a little powwow before the next scrum goes down. And they'll be absolutely determined to keep the Springboks out. South Africa will want a good scrum, steady scrum. The advantage of the put in will be theirs.
It was Barley Swart down again with an injury, giving him some breathing space. There have been a lot of concerns about potential injuries, and the players have come up trumps in this game, including number 6 there, Francois Pienaar, the captain of South Africa. That's the 9-man pushes Van der Westhuizen goes in. Well, Australia are penalised there for pushing upwards, not keeping that scrum straight and level.
Yes, you've got to push straight, and the hips have got to be below the shoulders. And this is not a penalty, it's a free kick, so they can't go for the posts.
Well, the pack of forwards will take the drive themselves. Can they make it? This will be interesting.
Well, the referee, if he cannot decide who first grounded the ball, must give a 5-meter scrum with the attacking side to put the ball in. And there it is, Dalton with the ball, and all of them trying to bash their way over. You've got to ground the ball, you've got to give downward pressure on it. And it looks as though there was an Australian underneath preventing the ball from being grounded. So now another held up for injury, and this could be very interesting what they'll do with this. This will be a scrum with the Springboks to put the ball in.
Well, Chick, it almost looked like James Dalton lost the ball forward as they went through. I mean, he was literally sandwiched. That's Dan Crowley, one we think down on the ground, and a little bit of breathing time for Australia too. They also want it. There's been a real surge on their goal line in the last 10 minutes of the second half. South Africa well pleased with their performance.
And the crowd really getting behind him. There it is from the other angle. Dalton with the ball, and it looks as though an Australian guy is underneath, so the ball is not actually grounded. And so here, this could be the most terrific scrum of the match.
Well, 8 men from South Africa. That's Gregan. Jason Little just standing by to help him. All sorts of pressure on Michael Lynham. This is James Small. South Africa will want quickly. They get. Needs to be spread, then back inside again goes Joppie Mulder. Important role for him to play in setting up second, third phase possession. Just Van der Westhuizen. That's a knock on.
Well, in the old law, that would mean a 22-meter back, but the knock-on will mean there'll be a scrum. Jos van der Westhuizen chipping ahead, James Small going for it, and the knock-on had already occurred. James Small grounding the ball, but it was the knock-on. Australia ball.
Some concern there as well. James Small held on to his left hamstring, but the pressure's on Australia. Great defensive work there, particularly by Jos van der Westhuizen.
And this will
no
be
room at all for Michael Lynham to move.
And this will be South Africa's ball. Back there onto Lynham. Jos van der Westhuizen was following up very quickly.
Barley Swart has really been in a game today. 3 stoppages for him. Will this be another 9-man scrum for South Africa? Joppie Mulder is the one that goes in with Van der Westhuizen. Small, not too much room to move, and then back to Ruben Kruger. So difficult to bridge the Australian defence close in. LaRue with a charge. South Africa have got to try and spread it wide if they can. There's the long pass. Hendricks back for it. Well, Hendricks would really be pleased with his performance in this match. That wonderful try. What a great moment for the Transvaaler to be able to score a try in the opening match of the World Cup.
And of course, the last international he played, he was playing a bit out of position on the right wing. He much prefers the left wing.
Well, versatility is what's needed in modern day rugby. Well taken by Eales. This time Campese. There was a South African hand, one feels there. This is Hendricks. Hendricks, a punt from him is going to go too far. Chick, you said watch Campese. Well, I'll tell you what, anything can happen with this man, and is he going to get his opportunity? 23 minutes of play left. South Africa lead Australia 2013. Henny LaRue punting for the touchline. Liner, he'll take it himself, will Michael Liner. It's good play by him, running himself into a little bit of trouble there. Joubert. Oh, that ball off Matt Pinney. Joubert's been really solid for South Africa today.
Yes, his positional play has been very good. And South Africa playing the right tactics, one feels, using the wind. Matt Pinney coming up to prevent him from doing anything else. But still, the lineouts are South Africa's problem. They haven't been getting the ball on their own throw. Let's see what happens this time.
Well, we put four. South Africa put four in the lineout on this occasion. Didn't make any difference. Hendricks, that's a huge punt downfield. Campese really having his work cut out. Now, he caught that ball in field, so he's going to have to play it. Oh, that's a great kick from David Campese. Really, I think he's at his best when he's really involved with a game.
And he always gets into the game somehow. If there's nothing happening on his wing, he chases into fly half or the opposite wing.
Well, South Africa's line-out woes continue. This time it's two of them, what they started with on the short line-outs, Andrews and Strowley. Eales with a lot of graft. Afra Ngawi. Got to put him down on the ground, James Dalton, which he does. Gregan to Kearns, that's the second hit. Liner senses some urgency in the Australian camp. They know it's important for them to get a score soon. Stransky. That was good play by Joel Stransky. Well, that ball by David Campese was quickly picked up, but South Africa are going to get a penalty for Australia being in an offside position. There was the big tackle on Stransky. Well, that penalty, of course, means that South Africa have the throw-in at the line-out. Not that it's meant too much for them in the game.
Well, let's see this time. They had quite a chat at half-time, and no doubt they'll be changing their tactics and perhaps using somebody else. But it would look as though there has been quite a bit of obstruction in the line-out, and the British referees tend to allow more obstruction than is allowed in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, Australia 13-1, you can see there. They've really dominated, and they'll be disappointed that they haven't turned it into more points. There's a free kick being given to Australia for lifting. Kearns decides to take it himself. Tim Gavin, who missed the 1991 World Cup through injury, very disappointing for him. Liner with a run around, and then Damien Smith on the outside. That's good play by Henny LaRue. Campese, now he has trouble for Australia. That was great play by Campese to kick that ball away. Chick really thought about what he needed to do there. If he'd tried to pick it up, he would have been in trouble.
That was the brilliance of the man, Gavin. That's the only thing he could have done. There were three Springboks against him. He was off balance. Watch it this time. through it goes a very dangerous situation. Greg and passing back and missing him. And there's Pienaar and LaRue right up there. And the only thing he could have done in the circumstances was exactly what he did. That is, as I say, the absolute brilliance of the man.
South Africa will be warmed by the fact that they've put so much pressure on Australia today. That's Hunter straight on. That was a good ball for South Africa. LaRue, the switch to Mulder. Back inside he goes again. Stransky, this is a drop attempt. It's off one of the Australians. Well, they'll come back for a 5-metre scrum, I think, Chick. That ball definitely touched one of the Australian hands.
Yes, he's given the 5-metre scrum. But Gavin, one can't help feeling that the South Africans should have perhaps let it go wide. If they could get it out to the wings, they've got two very fast and good wings, and they're not really letting it go wide enough at this stage.
Well, Chick, it's all about time, I think, and unless you're doing a skip pass early on, the defence closes in on you so quickly. But this is Rudolf Strauly. Van der Westhuizen inside, and Stransky will score! We've seen that move before. The last time round it was Henny LaRue that scored with a switch pass. And that's not a bad record. 5 tries in 8 internationals. Now watch the pickup here. There's the switch pass. Tim Gavin could only get a hand out. Stransky in his urgency to get over under the poles.
And Joel Stransky in his career has scored a lot of tries. He's got the knack of turning up at the right place at the right time. And the crowd going absolutely wild as Joel Stransky himself will see whether he can convert his own tries.
25 points to 13, South Africa lead. 17 minutes left in this match. Stransky's day. Well, the Australians really have their work cut out now. 27 points to 15. Just watch how well that was worked with the inside pass to Stransky, but I'm surprised that Australia did not have that covered. Gavin was running wide. Pienaar can't pick up. Then it's Strauly. That ball went backwards. Joubert, Campisi and Matt Pinney standing far back, almost sensing that kick. Stransky finds Dalton. Good play by Dalton. Give it to the man that knows what to do with it when it comes to the brutal running. Well, Pinney once again took well. Matt Pinney, he said during the week he knows he's going to get an aerial bombardment from South Africa. Well, that he's got, but he's responded beautifully.
There's a fine mark under pressure and a good kick from that situation. But the right thing for Joubert to do, South Africa must throw everything at the Aussies now because they've got a lead of 14 points, but they've got the win with them. And I think the important thing is to play the whole of the rest of this match in their opponent's half. And it looks as though Barley Swart is getting attention from the doctor. It looks as though he could leave the field. I wonder if he'll be replaced. I think he's going to be replaced by Pagel. It's going to make it difficult. They've got 2 loose head props on the field. Durant and Pagel for his first international.
Well, Pagel will go to tight head and Peter Durant stay in his customary role. This is such an important 14 or 13 minutes for Gary Pagel. First test for him. He's got to get himself into the game early. Andrews, South Africa on the retreat. Concentration levels needed. Stransky is controlled well as Joel Stransky.
Well, as you say, Pagel is he's a very lively player. He's an incredibly strong player, Gavin.
Well, South Africa will be worried about injuries because right at the top of your screen you'll see there's another injury, and it looks like Joost van der Westhuizen. South Africa don't want that rhythm upset, and well, it is Van der Westhuizen, but he's fine now. Concentration and focus for these last 13 minutes. There he went down, did Van der Westhuizen, and just a little tap there from the welly.
I think he'll be all right. He's a fairly tough young man, is Jos van der Westhuizen.
Kearns looks and finds Eels. Herbert, the battering ram down the middle. Second hit from Kearns. They're trying to get the South African defence into disarray. Has it worked? Herbert again. Pass to Liner. Looking for Campese. Wilson is always first man to the point of breakdown. The South Africans coming in from the side of that ruck, and Derek Bevan has given the penalty to Australia. Now the question is 14 points adrift. Less minutes left in the game. Campese with the ball. Well, that was very nonchalant, just a little tap kick with the left foot, and said, "Oh, we'll take the line out."
Well, this is how it happened. There's the man down there, and see the guys coming in from the wrong side. The referee waited for advantage and then blew, but I was surprised they didn't go for the post in. It wasn't that far a kick.
Eels and then Offer and Gowie. Australia realise they do need some tries. They're going to have to get them. Let's get them early. Gregan. South Africans momentarily just standing back, thinking there was a knock on. Kearns. There's obstruction there from Australia, and South Africa will get the put in.
I think he's saying perhaps Gavin an accidental offsides with an advantage to the Australians, because Eels picked up the ball, went into his guys who were ahead of him, and they then retained possession. So it is South African ball, and they'll want to get it and kick it as far away as they can.
It's only the line-outs where South Africa have not been competitive, but they've used their chances. Joubert. Swirling torpedo from Joubert. He's just so relaxed and casual, he's Andre Joubert, a sign of great talent.
Well, territorially it's been all South Africa in the second half, but one must stress that there is a very strong southeasterly wind blowing right down the field, and that's in the South Africans' favour. And so Australia have done very well to work themselves up into this position inside their opponent's 22.
Australia have used their men all over in the line out. That's Dalton's kick through. James Dalton, well, he's not going to beat Campese for pace. Good play by James Dalton. He's a real opportunist, is Dalton.
And he's done just what his side wanted him to do. He's placed them back on the attack. And it means that Australia are going to score from here. They're going to have to score from very far out. It's a long way to the touchline, to the try line rather. And it is, of course, Dalton's throw in, because Campo was the chap who took it out.
Hannes Strydom at the back. That's Mark Andrews in the front. Strydom with a tap through. Derek Bevan waiting for advantage. South Africa knocked that forward. Well, Chick, the wind hasn't turned around in the second half as many people thought it might. South Africa will be heartened by that news.
I think, in fact, if anything, it's got a bit stronger.
Gregan, well, what does he do now? Is it run or kick? Liner's choice. Off one of the South African players to Michael Liner.
Left for play 10 minutes by my stopwatch.
Well, that cushion of 14 points is important for South Africa, because it'll take 2 goals to get up to that scoreline by Australia. And they certainly haven't looked like getting over the South African line much in the second half. In fact, the performance has been a little disappointing on occasions, playing behind the advantage line, but just look at the magic of some of the players like David Campese. Once again, Campese with nobody near him. That's a great kick from Campese. Well, needless to say, Chick, right on the corner flag.
Unbelievable. And that's done just what they want. They want to get up close enough to the Springbok line so that they can get over without having to start their attack from a long way out, and that could hardly be closer. It's about 2 meters from the Springbok line, and the Australians have probably had the better of things in the lineouts overall today.
Well, such an important role for Rod McCall and John Eales. Tim Gavin at the back. And some disruptive work possibly from Afrin Gawi. Looking to the front, South Africa, but they'll come back for the scrum 5 attackers ball.
And this is where Australia are very dangerous. They've got all sorts of moves up their sleeves that they practice, and any one of them can happen now.
8 minutes left, 27-13, South Africa lead. Solid scrum. There's absolutely no way around this side. South Africa will get the penalty. I think it was Tim Gavin holding on the ground.
So a great chance gone, a begging for Australia, because no doubt the South African fly half Stransky will hoist the ball and let the wind do the rest.
Importantly for South Africa, most of the tackling has been first time, it has been solid, and that was needed against Australia today.
And Stransky scored 22 points by himself. A try, a drop goal, and 4 penalties, and a conversion.
All South Africa's points, 30, those 13 points coming in the second half. Australia have not scored any points in the second half. And that says a lot for the resolute defense of South Africa, as well as a lot of intuitive play by the full side themselves. Afrin Gawi in a drive through, stopped by Pienaar, then David Wilson. Just no forward movement for Australia because of those big hits. Jason Little going on the inside. Hasn't found the space that he normally finds in this match. Good running this by Herbert. He's an exciting player, is Daniel Herbert. Set that up well. Gregan. Good interplay by Australia. Afrin Gawi goes down with the ball. This is important for Australia. They need to score right now. Herbert swamped by green and gold jerseys.
And a handling error uncharacteristic of the Australian back line. Just when they had a move up, there was a slight fumble and handling error by the Australians, and that stopped the smooth flow of that movement. But South Africa tackling is very good. When they got that last scrum in the midfield, Francois Pienaar came round and actually prevented Arthur Hangai from crossing the advantage line. And it's never so easy to start your second phase ball when you haven't in fact got past the advantage line. So I think it's been a very determined defence of South Africa. They have tackled first time, and none better than the captain Francois Pienaar, who seems to be in the thick of it all the time. Watch this movement again. Down they go, and the ball is buried right under the whole lot of them, and so South Africa's ball.
Some brave attempts by Joel Stransky on defence there, and just took a little knock. Van der Westhuizen, that's not a good kick from Van der Westhuizen, but limit your errors in these last 5 minutes, says Francois Pienaar. Kearns with Gavin McCall, Eales and Dan Crowley and Ewan McKenzie in that line out. Almost predictably to Eales at the back. Was it in straight? The referee says yes. Afrin Gawi drives on. Reagan thinks about going blind this way, that way, and does extremely well. Another chance. Good tackle by South Africa. Well, here's a chance for Australia. David Wilson. Can they drive it through? Gregan. Good play that by Annie LaRue. Just looking up to see if the referee was going to catch him offsides. Stransky, who comes through. Well, this is really cat and mouse now, but will Australia manage to get through? Rudolf Strali picks up from an offside position. Run Wallaby, run it'll be. Daniel Herbert, the pass comes out to him. No one was ready for it. Gregan Long pass over the top to Phil Kearns, who's going to score. It's a great try for Phil Kearns, but one senses, Chick, that it's going to be too late in the match.
Well, they've had 36 minutes and 50 seconds. The referee may out on a couple of minutes, but basically 3 minutes left, and they still have that gap of 9 points at this stage with the conversion to come. Here it is again. It's a beautiful pass right over Phil Kearns out on the wing position. No one expected the hooker to be there, and a fine try by the man who's vice captain of this team. Now, very important kick by Liner. Any chance they've got of pulling the match out of the fire will be if he converts this and they get another 7 points.
Well, he's pushed this past the right hand upright, and that is great joy for South Africa. The match is not over, but that was a very important miss for Michael Liner. The try itself was very well taken, and it was just reward because there was some real good driving towards the South African post.
The South Africans so surprised that they didn't even come and prevent it from going underneath the post. But I think it's all over by the shouting, Gavin, because there's that gap of 9 points and there's only 2 minutes left.
John Eales can't collect. First knock on was from Australia. Check, I see Brendan Fenter warming up on the side as well, and one wonders if Joel Stransky, that little knock he took on his head, if he possibly... some of the players maybe feel he needs to go off. I'm darn sure he doesn't want to go off. Van der Westhuizen taken a little unawares. Australia coming back now. Herbert, Smith, David Wilson. Great work rate does David Wilson. He really gets around the field. Reagan, Liner, Herbert, Penny sandwiched. Once again they come to the Australians. Offer-Ngawi. That's fair resistance that he met at Offer-Ngawi. Liner again. What can Australia do here? Can they manufacture something in the minute of ordinary playing time that's left?
Slight hold up for an injury. I think one of the Australians in that tackle. It was a tremendous tackle. There he goes, and he got hurt just then, so there'll be a slight hold up. And although it's 39 minutes and 25 seconds on the stopwatch, there could be about a minute of additional time. Stransky talking to the referee. If he did go off, Stransky, of course, Henny LaRue is a natural fly half. He had moved to fly half, and then they'd bring another centre on. But the injured man's okay, and the tension here is unbelievable.
Well, great chorus of Ole here in the stadium. It's almost like the last Olympic Games in Barcelona. But it's Newlands, South Africa that we're at. Stransky makes sure, just Joel Stransky. That's a good kick from him.
Campese wanting a quick throw in, but he can't because the ball was touched by some members in the crowd. And of course you can only have a quick throw in when it's only the players of the one team that handle the ball. And on the stopwatch it's 40 minutes gone, so we're in that time that the referee allows for stoppages. 27 to 18, South Africa lead.
Van der Westhuizen with a knock on. Well, all the players asking the referee how much time left. That screen says 0. There's a bit of optional referee's time. Gavin, back it goes, long pass to Campese. Well tackled that by Yapi Mulder. South Africa want to stay on their feet, but that's the end of the game. Well, who would have believed that South Africa would beat Australia, world champions, and an unbeaten team in the last 12 months. That's their first loss, Australia, in the last 12 months. And that man, Joel Stransky, the hero for South Africa, 14 others too, but he was the man that put all the points on the board, with the exception of Peter Hendricks' try. Chick Henderson, a remarkable performance.
Well, a fantastic performance, but closer than the score suggests. Each side scored two tries, And so it was a goal, a drop, 4 penalties to South Africa and a try, and for Australia a goal, 2 penalties and a try. So that's it for the moment. We'll be back with you a little bit later, but right now from a crowded Newlands, cheers.